Welcome to another Acumatica tutorial. My name is Zach Mayer and I'm with the Mayer Group. And today's Acumatica training is going to take us through how to create a customer and view our customers in Acumatica. So if we dive right in, this is the homepage of my demo company here I have in Acumatica. So whatever homepage you default to, that's basically where we're starting from right here. And to navigate to our customer page, we're just going to begin typing customer into the universal search up at the top, and we see customers pops up right at the top here. So if we click on that, it's going to take us to our customer form, and immediately we're going to see a table that lists all of the customers that we currently have in our system. So here we have all records showing every customer that we've created so far. Now you have a lot of flexibility to filter this data in different ways. So first you could click on any of these column headers and filter them individually. So let's say the customer name has to start with a certain letter. If it can't be empty, does not equal something specific, or if we wanted to say the city must contain New York, or actually let's have it equal New York. And then we see all of our customers that are in New York City specifically. And we can again just remove those filters as well. And now we go back to all of our records. Now another way to filter this information is to click on the filter icon we have up here, and you can create a saved filter that you can share or you can quickly access in the future. So here I've created a filter called active US customers. So I picked the country property, which we have in our table right here, and the country must equal the United States, as well as the status of our customer must equal, and I picked active. So you could pick any statuses that you have available for your customers. And then all I did was I clicked save, and after I did that, it appeared up here as a tab right underneath our toolbar up here. So we have the All Records tab, as well as the Active US Customers, which is what I chose to name my saved filter. So most of the customers I have here in my demo company here are in the United States, but we do have one customer down here that I called test customer, and we see the country is not the United States. So when I navigate over to my active US customers filter, that test company is no longer displayed. So that's a really easy way to create a saved filter to narrow down on a specific set of customers you need to access. But if we go back to all records and we navigate down to our test customer, we can take a look at what the customer form is going to look like. And it's going to look the same whether you're editing a customer or you're creating a brand new customer. And if you wanted to create a new one, you would just click on this plus sign up here to add a new record. But instead, I'm going to click on the test customer I've already created, and this is what the form is going to look like. So if you're creating a new one, this would all be blank, but we have our customer ID defined, so I just named it test customer. We have our name, as well as that status we've pre-selected for it. So right now, this is an active customer. I provided the customer name. Here you can add in the phone number, the email address you want to have associated with it, as well as where they're located with their main address. And here I've selected the country. Now the country is the only required field for the address, but again, you can include all those other fields as well. And then over here, we have our financial settings. So here you can pick a customer class, and that will then override or provide a lot of default values that have been defined within the customer class. So if I were to change this customer class from cosmetics to retail, it's going to give us a warning that it's going to update some customer settings with the customer class defaults. So if we say yes to that, we've now seen an update to our terms as well as some credit verification rules that have all been changed to match what has been defined for the retail customer class. Now, just because that's the default for the class does not mean you're locked into that. So if I wanted to click on terms here and click on the magnifying glass, here I have all the other terms that have been defined in my system, and I could pick a different one. So let's say I want to override it and that this customer has a net 60 terms. So I could put that in instead. Now down here, you also have red box around your personal data privacy checkbox here. So this checkbox is going to give you a little exclamation point if it hasn't been checked. And we see down the bottom left, it's telling us that the consent to the processing of personal data has not been given or it has expired. So that's going to remind you that you need to check this box off once you have the consent. It'll then default to the date of consent for today's date. So right now it has June 23rd in there, and then you can enter the date that the consent expires. So I put in a date that is 1 year from today. So you have full control over when that is. Submit, let's say it was 2 years, for example, you could go and change that. But we're putting in 1 year from today, and it enters that right in for us. Now, if we move on to the next tab, which is billing settings, we're going to see a pretty similar left side of the screen that we saw on general info, which has our contact as well as our address information. Now, by default, both of them are going to not allow you to edit them because of this checkbox that says same as main. So this checkbox will be checked by default, and all it means is that the information is the same as what we filled out on the general info. So it'll automatically fill in the address, the city, the state that you've defined on your general info tab. Now, if the billing address is not the same as what you entered on the general info tab, you can always uncheck the same as main checkbox and now type in a new address that is different from what you've entered before. Over here on the right side, you can define a parent company for the customer. So let's say we want to pick L'Oreal as our parent company. You could then do that, as well as consolidating the balance or statement checkboxes here. Here for print and email settings, you can decide if you want to send your invoices by email, your statements by email, as well as printing them. And you can also define a default email in your Acumatica system that can then be set up to automatically send out invoices through email, send statements through email when they're created. So if you want your email to automatically send out the invoice as soon as it's created in your system, there is a setting to set that up. And then down here, we also have our default payment method shown, which we can change on another tab as well. And we'll get to that in just a moment. The next tab is going to be our delivery settings. So once again, we have our shipping address and contact, which are defaulting to same as main. And again, you always have that flexibility to edit that. Over on the right, we're going to have some tax information as well as some shipping instructions. So we can select a ship via that we've defined in our system. We could pick some shipping terms and play around with all of those settings in here. And then we're going to move on to our payment methods tab. So here we have the 3 payment methods that have been defined in my demo company. So any payment methods that you have will be displayed here. You can also click on the view payment method and it'll bring up a pop-up window that shows the specific details of that specific payment method that's been defined, or you could also add a new one if you want to add a new payment method. Now, because we had checkbox selected here, it says is the default, so that is why it was displayed under the billing settings. If I wanted to click on credit card instead, if we went back to our billing settings, it now updates and shows that credit card is our default payment method. So it's pretty easy to change whichever one is defaulted for that customer. Next, if we go to contacts, you could add in a contact here, and it's going to open up a new window for the contact form. Now it's going to automatically fill in the business account, which is our test customer. So whatever customer that you're currently editing will automatically be filled in for you so that the contact you're creating is associated with that customer, and it will also automatically fill in their company name. Then you can fill in all the other information for your contact, and they will then be associated with this customer account. After contacts, we have the salesperson tab. So here we have the salespersons that have been associated with this customer. You can delete a salesperson. You can also add in a new one. So let's add in a second salesperson here. And now we have them showing, and we can also go ahead and make them the default by checking off this checkbox here. And we could uncheck the first one. And it's going to save some changes to it. Next, we have our attributes. So here we have the attributes that are available for you to select and enter the values, or if it is required. So here we just have the different attributes that are available for the customer accounts. Next, we have our activity tab here. So you have a lot of different options for activities you can add and associate with your customers. So you could add a task, event, email, or you have a few others through this add activity dropdown, such as a phone call, a message, an appointment. And once you click on any one of these, it'll bring up a whole new window. So if we click on to add an event, we're going to see the event screen pop up. So here you're going to enter the summary or the title for your event. You can define a location, a start and end time, give some more details down here in the text box, but you also have the tab up here for attendees. Now here's where you can define the name, email, and comments for all of the different attendees you want to invite to this event, and then you're also going to see if they've been invited or not. So after you create your whole list of attendees, you can then choose to invite them all or invite a select few of them, and then it'll automatically use that predefined system email to email out that invitation. We can also send emails directly through the customer form as well, and it'll bring up our email activity form. So this demo company does not have a system email saved in it yet, but if you had a default email, that would automatically be filled in for you. You have who it's being sent to, which is defaulting to the email we have defined for this customer. You can then provide your subject and your email description down here, and that's going to send out for you. You also have some details on the email itself. So you can track the time, track the owner of it, as well as the related entities and the current status of your email. Then you have options to send, reply, or forward, and all those typical email functions you'd expect. Our next tab is going to be our GL accounts. Now they are all going to be predefined based on the customer class we chose at the beginning of the customer form over on our general info tab, but we can also once again override any of those that we see fit. So if this is the incorrect AR account, we can always go in and change that to a different account that we have saved in our system. And you can always change it back as well. So you can change any of these to whichever account is the correct account that you want to associate with this customer. And then finally, we're going to have our mailing settings tab here. So we see our mailings as well as our recipients. So here we have a couple different mailing IDs, and we can always, of course, extend these to see the full description of them. You have the email accounts, report, notification templates, whether they're active or not, and if they've been overridden. And then down here you have your recipients as well. So you can define what type of contact type this is, if it's an employee, if it's billing, define a contact ID for them, whatever the relevant email would be, the format again, and if they're active. And just like we saw at the beginning when we saw our table of customers, you always have that icon in the top left to customize the tables of data you see here. So if you do not want to see that contact ID, for example, you can move that over out of your selected columns section, or you could always move that back in and say you want to put it in a different spot. So let's start with our contact ID, and that's going to move to our first field. And of course, you can do that with any table you see, so we can do it with our mailings as well. And that is going to be a quick overview of customers. So hopefully that helps with navigating through the customer form as well as creating or editing customers in your system. If you have any more questions on how to create a customer or how to navigate this form, don't hesitate to reach out to the Mayor group. But we will definitely have some more Acumatica tutorials coming, so definitely keep an eye out for those. And thanks for watching.